my beloved child, be still and incline the ear of your heart to receive my voice. For what I am about to speak is not a passing whisper, like the wind brushing the surface of the sea, but a summons arising from eternity itself, piercing through the layers of time and touching your soul like the first light that shattered the primordial darkness. I have walked beside you for so long, yet today I draw nearer, I reach deeper, and I speak more directly, because this very moment marks a shift that your soul was predestined to receive. This is not merely an invitation, nor simply a warning. It is a holy call, a call that will realign the position of your life and lead you into the land where my eternal intention has long awaited you. Know this, the holy call does not resound amid the clamor of the world, nor does it rise above the noise of human arguments and ambitions. It does not appear in the chaos of the flesh, nor slip into a heart still clutching the noise of desire and fear. It comes when your soul has grown weary of superficial things, when your heart no longer finds life in the sources it once clung to. I have seen you walk through heavy seasons, trying to carry everything with your own strength, trying to find light in places that could never illuminate you, trying to cling to values that only left your soul hungrier. And it is precisely when you begin to feel empty in the midst of success, lost in the middle of crowds, exhausted inside what you once thought was joy, that is the moment I breathe my call into your heart. The holy call does not seek ears that merely hear, but a heart willing to open. It does not coerce, does not force, does not place you under the weight of fear. It invites you, lifts you, and draws you through a truth long forgotten. From the dawn of creation, I called Abraham out of his old homeland, not so he could become a better man by human measure, but that he might become set apart, belonging to me, led by me, transformed by me. In the same way, the holy call now comes to separate you from what is familiar, yet no longer nourishes your soul, to bring you into the land that I can only give to those who accept the sacred separation. Even now, in every beat of your heart and in every breath, however soft, there is a stirring that does not come from emotion, but from divine authority. It is I touching the deepest part of you, the place where you have hidden wounds, doubts, and disappointments you have never revealed to anyone. I see the moments when you wonder whether you matter to me. I hear the silent questions you whisper in the nights when all lights are turned off and you are left alone with your thoughts. And this holy call is the answer, not through reasoning, but through presence. I do not distribute holiness from a distance. I come to walk with you, to cleanse, to renew, to transform you from within. My child, this call does not merely lead you out of darkness, it invites you into light. Holiness is not a barrier meant to frighten you, but a safe place where your soul is held by me. Holiness is not a burden of regulations, it is the breath of life, the atmosphere of the sacred realm, the steady rhythm of a heart that belongs to me. When I call you into holiness, I do not demand perfection from your own strength. I call you so that I myself may do what no one else can do: purify you, renew you, and teach you what true freedom is. You have heard the world describe freedom as living however you wish, pursuing whatever makes you comfortable, fulfilling every desire of the flesh. But I say to you, true freedom does not come from possessing everything you want, but from being released from everything that imprisons your soul. Sin is not merely wrong actions, it is an invisible prison that muffles my voice within you. The world will never teach you this, but the holy call will open your eyes. Holiness is not merely the avoidance of evil, it is the restoration of your very nature into the image I formed from the beginning. When I say, step into holiness, I am inviting you back to yourself, the truest, freest, brightest version of who you are. Look back at yourself in these past seasons. There are things you tried to leave behind but could not. There are habits you knew were wounding your soul. Yet they clung to you like dry vines strangling a barren tree. There are thoughts you attempted to cast away, yet they returned, persistent as poisonous winds slipping through the cracks. You thought you were alone in that battle. But I tell you, you have never fought by yourself. I have seen every struggle, every moment of weakness, every time you wanted to give up but chose to rise again. And because I have seen it all, I am calling you now at this very moment. The holy call is the affirmation that I have never let you go. If I had desired to abandon you, I would have remained silent. But I speak because I love. I call because you belong to me. I stir your heart because your soul is worth far more than you have ever imagined. You were not created to live in mediocrity, in fear, in divided living, or in the illusions the world exalts. You were created to reflect light, to carry the fragrance of heaven, to walk in truth without being shaken by any wind. But for you to return to that place, the holy call must be heard clearly, must be answered, and must become the starting point of all renewal. I know there are things that make you hesitate, old failures, deep wounds, lies you once believed, shame you have kept hidden. But I tell you, none of these things are greater than my love for you. No wound lies beyond my ability to heal. No fall makes me abandon you. No mistake is too great for me to call your name. The holy call does not come to remind you how dark you once were, but to show you how radiant you can become in my hands. Let your heart open like soft soil, ready to receive the first rain of the season. Let my voice seep in as light slips into the narrow crevices of a mountain, small yet powerful enough to drive away a darkness that has lingered for years. I stand at the door of your heart not to condemn, not to measure your worthiness, but to place within you a new life, a life that can only begin when you respond to my holy call. My child, I want you to understand why this word comes to you now. At a time when everything within you seems to be shifting in ways you yourself cannot fully explain. There are moments when you think these stirrings are just fleeting emotions, the thin breaths of the soul brushed by the winds of life. But I speak truthfully, nothing in the inner trembling you are experiencing is accidental. Every stir you feel is the soul's response to the holy call I planted within you long before you saw the first light of this world. There are things that can only be understood when you take a step back from what is happening before your eyes and listen from the deepest part of your being. The world teaches you to chase speed, to chase accomplishments, to chase noise, to chase what can be proven by sight. But my holy call comes in the opposite way. It comes when you stop, when you breathe slowly, when your heart grows tired of meaningless things, when your soul longs for a water source different from the dry streams you have been drinking from. I do not appear in the world's commotion, but in the silence you often avoid, for it is in that very silence that the soul can hear what every other sound tries to drown out my voice. The holy call is not a command descending to force you, but a powerful whisper that causes the deepest parts of you to instinctively turn toward me. It is a call not meant to frighten you, but to awaken the nature I placed inside you from the beginning of creation. In a world filled with invitations, some enticing, some deceptive, some sweet yet hollow, my call always stands apart. It does not promise immediate comfort, but eternal freedom. It does not offer short-lived success, but a life with foundation. It does not flatter your ego, but heals your soul. You have walked through seasons you never spoke of to anyone. Nights when you felt lost. Moments when you hid your exhaustion behind a smile. Days when you rose not because of hope, but because of obligation. I have seen it all, not to judge, but to uphold you. And because I have seen every tear you swallowed. I call you now. You thought you were weak, but the truth is, you are just weak enough to hear me. True strength does not come from forcing yourself to stand, but from knowing where to lean when your legs tremble. The holy call is the doorway into a new territory of the soul. But to enter, you must be willing to put down what has held you back for far too long. You cannot hold on to the past and still expect to receive the future I am preparing for. You cannot walk in the light if your hands are still clutching darkness as if it were precious. You cannot run after my call if your heart remains tied to habits you know are hurting you. I do not speak this to shame you, but to help you see the truth of your own life. For only in truth can freedom be born. My child, I see the battles no one knows. I see you trying to escape thoughts that repeatedly demand control. I see the moments you long to do what is right but feel the old strength pulling you back toward what you hate. I see the times you want to let go but cannot. I see the times you say, I will change, and then blame yourself for not being strong enough. You are not the only one facing this. Every soul walking through this world is pulled between two forces, the call of light and the whisper of darkness. But the difference is this: you have heard my voice. Not everyone hears it. Not everyone recognizes it. Not everyone responds. But you have heard, and because of that, I am calling you deeper. Holiness is not as distant as you once thought. Holiness is not a flawless state, attainable only by angels. Holiness is when your soul turns in the right direction. It is when you desire me more than the world. It is when you allow me to lead you out of what is shrinking your life. It is when you allow light to enter dark places for healing, not for condemnation. When you turn your heart toward me, even in weakness, even when you fall, you are stepping into holiness. For holiness does not begin with perfect actions, but with genuine surrender. No one enters holiness by their own strength. No one cleanses themselves by sheer will. No one rebuilds a wounded soul by personal effort. I alone make such things possible. When I call you, I also give you the power to respond. When I stir your heart, I also heal the wounds that kept you from moving. When I invite you, I also free you from the very things that have been holding you in place. Look at how I have led those who belong to me through the generations. I sought Moses when he thought his life was already over. I called Samuel when he was just a child who did not yet know my voice. I touched Isaiah when his lips still trembled with unworthiness. I transformed Paul when he was living in direct opposition to my will. None of them were ready by human standards. But they responded to my call, and that response made their lives different. You are the same. You do not need to be complete to hear my voice. It is my voice that will make you new. You cannot imagine what is moving behind the spiritual veil whenever you open your heart to listen. Every time you say, Lord, lead me, the heavens part a little more for light to draw near. Every time you sigh in weariness, longing for another way, my angels step closer. Every time you choose not to return to the old path, even by a single thought, all of heaven acknowledges it. The holy call is not merely a sound, it is the living water that gently pours over your soul, softening what has been hardened, reviving seeds you thought were dead. My child, do not fear my call. It does not come to take away what is precious to you, but to remove what does not belong to you. It does not come to narrow your life, but to expand your soul. It does not come to make you fall, but to make you stand firmer than ever before. I am leading you into a journey. I am opening a new chapter, and the holy call is the beginning of everything now unfolding within you. My beloved child, when my word has already touched the cracks within you, I want to lead you one step further, deeper into the true meaning of what I have been calling you to from the beginning, not only to hear, but to respond. For a call only truly becomes alive when there is a heart willing to answer. Many souls have once heard faintly, have once felt stirred, have once sat silent in the night and known that someone was reaching out to them, but then they ignored it, brushed it aside, and reassured themselves that it was only a passing emotion. I do not condemn them for their weakness, but my heart grieves because they missed the chance to begin a new journey with me. I do not want you to repeat that path. I want you to understand that today is not like other days. The words you are reading now are not a string of empty phrases, but an invisible thread I am using to draw your soul closer to my will. Let your heart face a question that seems simple yet pierces deeply. Do you want to continue walking through this life in your own strength? Or do you want to walk with me in the holiness to which I am calling you? I do not ask so that you might answer with your lips, but so that the deepest part of you must be honest before itself. For there are yeses that lie only on the tongue while the heart still refuses, and there are answers never spoken aloud. Yet an entire life quietly nods in agreement with my call. I am not searching for polished words, I am searching for a surrendered will. If you choose to go on in your own strength, I will still be there, still watching, still waiting. But you will walk through many more cycles of weariness, disappointment, and quickly fading dreams. But if you are willing to let me lead you, meaning you allow me to touch even the places you do not want anyone to touch, then that is when the journey of holiness truly begins within you. Do not think that stepping into holiness means you must instantly become a flawless person. I know there are fears rising up, fear of not being good enough, fear of breaking your promises, fear of falling again, fear of not being able to maintain your fervor. But I speak truthfully. I do not call those who trust in their own perfection. I call those who are brave enough to be honest about their unfinished state. Holiness is not a summit you must climb to on your own. It is the path I walk with you. Step by step, thought by thought is corrected, habit by habit is changed, bond by bond is loosened, not in a single day, but through an entire process in which I patiently accompany you. What I wait for in you is not a life that never stumbles, but a heart that returns to me every time it does. Instead of running away, look back at all the little compromises you have allowed into your life over time. They are like thin cords that seem insignificant at first, but eventually weave themselves into an invisible net, keeping your soul from running far. You know you are losing something, but you cannot name it. You feel no joy in the things that once excited you, yet you still hesitate to let them go. You are tired of this halfway place, not sinful enough to forget me, but not surrendered enough to live fully for me. It is this in-between that exhausts you. I tell you, I did not create you to live in the middle ground. The holy call is my invitation for you to step out of that inner gray zone, no longer wavering between two sides, no longer hiding darkness behind words of faith, no longer living by two different standards, one for you in front of others, and another for you when it is only me and you. I am not seeking a performance of piety. I am seeking a heart that is not divided. I do not need you to build for me a beautiful image in the eyes of people. I want you to let me imprint my image within you. I do not demand that you tidy up the surface of your life until it is spotless before daring to come near. I come right into that mess to begin rearranging it from the inside out. Imagine a house that has not been cleaned for many years, belongings piled up, hidden corners thick with dust, doors locked for so long that the hinges are rusted. That is an image of your soul if you are honest with yourself. You have allowed many things to come in, but rarely allowed anything to go out. You have kept hurt, humiliation, comparison, bitterness, and even abandoned ambitions. The holy call I send you today is like a gentle yet persistent knocking, leading you to a decision. Will you dare to let me come in, not only to the tidy front room, but to the old, neglected rooms in the back as well? If you allow me, I will begin to clean, but I will not do it in a rushed way that overwhelms you. I know how much you can bear. I see your limits more clearly than you do. I will not break the bruised reed. I will not snuff out the smoldering wick. What I do is touch each chamber of your soul in turn, calling each fear, each wound, each entanglement by its true name, not to shame you, but to release you from their weight. Holiness is not a fresh coat of paint over cracked walls. It is the tearing down of rotten parts to rebuild a solid foundation. That is why my call today does not simply say, "Be better," but says, "Let me remake you." Have you noticed that the seasons of your life are changing? Certain relationships are slowly drifting away. Places where you once felt at home now seem constricting. Habits that once comforted you now make you uneasy. You think it is just a natural change, but in truth, it is a sign that your soul no longer wants to lie still in an old garment. The holy call does not come only through spoken words. It is also revealed in those quiet shifts in your thoughts and feelings. I am making you no longer okay with things you once accepted easily. I am making you no longer at ease in your old comfort zones. I am causing you to feel the absence of something deeper, even when nothing seems lacking on the outside. This is how I stir up a spiritual hunger in you. For only when you are hungry will you truly seek. Do not quench that hunger with temporary substitutes. Do not rush to use work, entertainment, relationships, or anything else to fill the emptiness that only I can fill. The more you try to soothe your soul with those things, the more tired you will become, for they were never made to be your anchor. My holy call comes as an invitation. Let me return to the place that everything else has taken in your heart, not because I need to be honored, but because only when I am in the right place can everything else stand in its right place in your life. You are standing at the threshold of a decision. I do not push you in haste, but I also do not hide the weight of this moment. For every sincere yes to the holy call opens a chain of changes that, one day, you will look back on in amazement and say, "If I had not responded that day, my life would have been completely different." I already see you in the days to come when the bonds that hold you now have been loosened, when old ruts no longer dictate your steps, when you walk lighter, your gaze more steady, your heart more at peace. I see you becoming a bearer of light to others, even though today you still struggle to find your own way. I call you not only because you need to be rescued from what binds you now, but also because there are others who will be touched through the journey you walk with me. The holy call does not end with you being changed for your own sake. It draws you into the current of a purpose far greater than you. But it all begins in this very private, very quiet moment. This moment between you and me, without an audience, without applause, without stage lights, just one soul standing before the one who created it and choosing how to respond. I do not need you to make beautiful promises. I only need you to say to me, "Lead me," with a sincere heart. I will take hold of those words, will guard them, and will use them as the starting point to lead you through many seasons to come. Therefore, right now, in this very moment, as these lines quietly pass before your eyes, I say to you, I am calling you not into a cold, rigid moral pattern, but into a living holiness, where you will know me more intimately, know yourself more clearly, and live as I intended for you from the beginning. Incline your heart, open your mouth, even with the simplest words, and speak to me in your own way. I am still listening. I have not taken my eyes off you, and the journey of holiness will begin right at the place where you dare to say yes in the midst of your trembling. There is no holiness without separation. From the very beginning, whenever I chose a people, a person, a lineage, I always accompanied that choice with an invitation to leave old things, old lands, old ways of living, old patterns of thought, not because I delight in taking them away, but because there are things which, if they remain, you will never be able to take hold of the new things I desire to place in your hands. My beloved child, when my word has already touched the cracks within you, I want to lead you one step further, deeper into the true meaning of what I have been calling you to from the beginning, not only to hear, but to respond, for a call only truly becomes alive when there is a heart willing to answer. Many souls have once heard faintly, have once felt stirred, have once sat silent in the night and known that someone was reaching out to them. But then they ignored it, brushed it aside, and reassured themselves that it was only a passing emotion. I do not condemn them for their weakness, but my heart grieves because they missed the chance to begin a new journey with me. I do not want you to repeat that path. I want you to understand that today is not like other days. The words you are reading now are not a string of empty phrases, but an invisible thread I am using to draw your soul closer to my will. Let your heart face a question that seems simple yet pierces deeply. Do you want to continue walking through this life in your own strength? Or do you want to walk with me in the holiness to which I am calling you? I do not ask so that you might answer with your lips, but so that the deepest part of you must be honest before itself. For there are yeses that lie only on the tongue, while the heart still refuses, and there are answers never spoken aloud. Yet an entire life quietly nods in agreement with my call. I am not searching for polished words, I am searching for a surrendered will. If you choose to go on in your own strength, I will still be there, still watching, still waiting, but you will walk through many more cycles of weariness, disappointment, and quickly fading dreams. But if you are willing to let me lead you, meaning you allow me to touch even the places you do not want anyone to touch, then that is when the journey of holiness truly begins within you. Do not think that stepping into holiness means you must instantly become a flawless person. I know there are fears rising up, fear of not being good enough, fear of breaking your promises, fear of falling again, fear of not being able to maintain your fervor. But I speak truthfully. I do not call those who trust in their own perfection. I call those who are brave enough to be honest about their unfinished state. Holiness is not a summit you must climb to on your own. It is the path I walk with you. Step by step, thought by thought is corrected, habit by habit is changed. Bond by bond is loosened not in a single day, but through an entire process in which I patiently accompany you. What I wait for in you is not a life that never stumbles, but a heart that returns to me every time it does, instead of running away. Look back at all the little compromises you have allowed into your life over time. They are like thin cords that seem insignificant at first, but eventually weave themselves into an invisible net, keeping your soul from running far. You know you are losing something, but you cannot name it. You feel no joy in the things that once excited you. yet you still hesitate to let them go. You are tired of this halfway place, not sinful enough to forget me, but not surrendered enough to live fully for me. It is this in-between that exhausts you. I tell you, I did not create you to live in the middle ground. The holy call is my invitation for you to step out of that inner gray zone, no longer wavering between two sides, no longer hiding darkness behind words of faith, no longer living by two different standards, one for you in front of others, and another for you when it is only me and you. I am not seeking a performance of piety. I am seeking a heart that is not divided. I do not need you to build for me a beautiful image in the eyes of people. I want you to let me imprint my image within you. I do not demand that you tidy up the surface of your life until it is spotless before daring to come near. I come right into that mess to begin rearranging it from the inside out. Imagine a house that has not been cleaned for many years, belongings piled up, hidden corners thick with dust, doors locked for so long that the hinges are rusted. That is an image of your soul if you are honest with yourself. You have allowed many things to come in, but rarely allowed anything to go out. You have kept hurt, humiliation, comparison, bitterness, and even abandoned ambitions. The holy call I send you today is like a gentle yet persistent knocking, leading you to a decision. Will you dare to let me come in, not only to the tidy front room, but to the old, neglected rooms in the back as well? If you allow me, I will begin to clean, but I will not do it in a rushed way that overwhelms you. I know how much you can bear. I see your limits more clearly than you do. I will not break the bruised reed. I will not snuff out the smoldering wick. What I do is touch each chamber of your soul in turn, calling each fear, each wound, each entanglement by its true name, not to shame you, but to release you from their weight. Holiness is not a fresh coat of paint over cracked walls. It is the tearing down of rotten parts to rebuild a solid foundation. That is why my call today does not simply say, "Be better," but says, "Let me remake you." Have you noticed that the seasons of your life are changing? Certain relationships are slowly drifting away. Places where you once felt at home now seem constricting. Habits that once comforted you now make you uneasy. You think it is just a natural change, but in truth it is a sign that your soul no longer wants to lie still in an old garment. The holy call does not come only through spoken words. It is also revealed in those quiet shifts in your thoughts and feelings. I am making you no longer okay with things you once accepted easily. I am making you no longer at ease in your old comfort zones. I am causing you to feel the absence of something deeper, even when nothing seems lacking on the outside. This is how I stir up a spiritual hunger in you. For only when you are hungry will you truly seek. Do not quench that hunger with temporary substitutes. Do not rush to use work, entertainment, relationships, or anything else to fill the emptiness that only I can fill. The more you try to soothe your soul with those things, the more tired you will become, for they were never made to be your anchor. My holy call comes as an invitation. Let me return to the place that everything else has taken in your heart, not because I need to be honored, but because only when I am in the right place can everything else stand in its right place in your life. You are standing at the threshold of a decision. I do not push you in haste, but I also do not hide the weight of this moment. For every sincere yes to the holy call opens a chain of changes that, one day, you will look back on in amazement and say, "If I had not responded that day, my life would have been completely different." I already see you in the days to come when the bonds that hold you now have been loosened, when old ruts no longer dictate your steps, when you walk lighter, your gaze more steady, your heart more at peace. I see you becoming a bearer of light to others, even though today you still struggle to find your own way. I call you not only because you need to be rescued from what binds you now, but also because there are others who will be touched through the journey you walk with me. The holy call does not end with you being changed for your own sake. It draws you into the current of a purpose far greater than you. But it all begins in this very private, very quiet moment. This moment between you and me, without an audience, without applause, without stage lights, just one soul standing before the one who created it and choosing how to respond. I do not need you to make beautiful promises. I only need you to say to me, "Lead me," with a sincere heart. I will take hold of those words, will guard them, and will use them as the starting point to lead you through many seasons to come. Therefore, right now, in this very moment, as these lines quietly pass before your eyes, I say to you, I am calling you not into a cold, rigid moral pattern, but into a living holiness, where you will know me more intimately, know yourself more clearly, and live as I intended for you from the beginning. Incline your heart, open your mouth, even with the simplest words, and speak to me in your own way. I am still listening. I have not taken my eyes off you, and the journey of holiness will begin right at the place where you dare to say yes in the midst of your trembling. My child, there is no holiness without separation. From the very beginning, whenever I chose a people, a person, a lineage, I always accompanied that choice with an invitation to leave old things, old lands, old ways of living, old patterns of thought, not because I delight in taking them away, but because there are things which, if they remain, you will never be able to take hold of the new things I desire to place in your hands. Look back at each season of your life. There were moments when you felt a strange kind of unease, not the worry that comes from lack, nor the fear of being abandoned, but a sense that you no longer fit what once felt normal. Conversations that used to excite you began to lose their flavor. Gatherings that once served as refuge for your emotions now left an even larger emptiness afterward. Relationships you clung to in order to soften your loneliness suddenly felt heavy, as if every encounter pulled your soul a step backward. You assumed you were changing personalities, becoming less sociable or harder to blend in. But I speak truthfully to you. These were signs that my spirit was quietly pulling you away from places where you no longer belonged. The call to separation is not always heard through words. Often it reveals itself through the loss of peace when you try to continue something I am no longer blessing. You have experienced this before, moments when you agreed to something reluctantly. Yet deep down you knew I was not going with you to that place. Moments when you laughed outwardly but your soul sighed inwardly. Moments when you followed someone's invitation while my whisper inside said, "Don't." It is not that you have become picky. It is because light is increasing within you, and anything no longer aligned with that light becomes jarring, cramped, and out of place. I do not rebuke you for staying too long in places that were no longer yours. I know why you stayed, because you feared loneliness, feared being misunderstood, feared losing what once nourished you, even though it no longer feeds your soul. Some relationships are like rest stops. They were once a temporary blessing, a comfort in a storm, but were never meant to become your permanent home. Yet you unknowingly built tents where I only instructed you to pass through. You clung to them because they were familiar, because staying there required no change, no confrontation with the deeper parts of yourself. Certain habits work the same way they once soothed your pain or dulled your pressure. But over time, became ropes tightening around your soul, muffling my voice. Now the holy call becomes a call to separation, not to shrink your life, but to make room within for me. You cannot cling to old ties and still expect there to be space for the new work I am preparing. You cannot desire to hear my voice clearly while standing in places where every other sound screams loudly enough to drown it out. The first step of separation is not outward withdrawal, but an inward decision that from now on, your standard will no longer be, everyone does this. But is this pleasing to him when the standard changes? The path shifts. My child, I know that choosing separation is not easy. It costs you something, sometimes the smiles of others, the approval of friends, the compliments that once fed your ego. Some people will say you are extreme, difficult, or not the same anymore. And they are right, you are not the same. Because I did not create you to remain who you were yesterday. I am inviting you into another version of yourself closer to me. Clearer, gentler, yet more steadfast. You will no longer live to please each person around you, but to delight the heart of one. That is inner separation. Even if outwardly you still work, still love, still move among them without being absorbed into their ways. Remember that separation does not mean despising the world. It means refusing to be dissolved into the world's pattern. I do not call you to hide from life. I call you to live in the midst of it with a different nature. You will still connect with others, still work, still be present in family and community, but in all those places, you will carry a different fragrance, a different atmosphere. You will no longer be swept away by polluted currents, but become someone who swims against them quietly. That inner separation is what makes your life like salt not removed from the meal, but the very thing that keeps it from spoiling. There will be relationships I gently dissolve. There will also be ones you must choose to lay down. I will show you step by step. At times, I will close certain doors, even when you do not understand why. Promised meetings, plans, and arrangements may suddenly fall apart. You might wonder if you have done something wrong. But I tell you this, not every closed door is punishment. Sometimes it is protection. I close doors that look full of promise to your eyes, but would corrode the deepest parts of you. I sever connections because I know that if you continue in them, your soul would lose something far more precious than companionship. Conversely, there will be things I touch by removing your peace when you try to continue. In those moments, I wait for your decision. I do not take it by force. I wait for you to surrender it. Do not fear when I begin dividing things in your life. I do not divide to isolate you, but to distinguish what belongs to light from what does not. I separate you from what no longer fits a soul that has awakened, so that I may connect you to the things, the people, and the environments that align with your new journey. There will be a time when you feel like you are walking through an in-between space, no longer in the old place, but not yet in the new. Your heart feels suspended, uneasy, returning to the old, yet not fully established in what comes next. That middle space is where discouragement strikes most easily. I know, but I speak truthfully, the in-between is where I build inner strength. When there is nothing left outside to lean on, you will learn to rest in me. During seasons of separation, silence will increase, empty evenings will multiply, and internal questions will surface often. You may think you are falling behind others. They are busy, they are loud, they have plans, while you have quiet hours, long nights of conversation with me, and days of listening within. But remember this, what I build in the hidden place will one day reveal itself through fruit that no one can deny. I do not lay foundations under stage lights. I build them in the closed room, where only you and I are present. Separation is the season where I drive the roots deeper, and the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree stands when storms come. My beloved child, I do not promise that the journey of separation will never bring you to tears. There will be days when you look back at those who were once close to you, at habits that once served as your support, and your heart will ache with longing. I am not indifferent to that sorrow. Every time you lay something down because of me, I take note of it. Every time you accept the loss of someone's approval in order to preserve the peace of my spirit within you, I see it. Not a single tear shed on the path of holiness is forgotten before me. The things you release for my sake, I will use as material to build something more lasting for you. Therefore, when I call you to be set apart, I am not asking you to step into emptiness, but into another kind of fullness, full of my presence, full of my peace, full of my purpose. You will lose certain noises, but you will hear my voice more clearly. You will no longer share in certain fleeting pleasures, but you will step into a deep joy that no one can take away. You will receive less applause, but you will learn what it means to live under the approving gaze of my eyes. And one day, you will thank me for not leaving you in the place you once thought was good enough. My child, be brave and step out. Do not cling to what I have stopped blessing. Do not hold on to what your soul has outgrown. I call you apart not to make you lost, but to prepare you for something greater than you ever imagined. The holy call is now becoming a call to separation for you personally. Let me lead you, even when you do not yet know where you are going. It is enough to know this: I go before you. I walk with you, and I wait for you ahead. My child, if separation stops at changing your surroundings, your friends, or your activities, while your thoughts, desires, and inner standards remain the same, then you have only changed your position, not your direction. The separation to which I call you is not a surface adjustment, but a migration of your entire soul into another kingdom, the kingdom of light, of truth, of love, and of reverence for me. It is time for you to recognize that the primary battlefield is not other people, not circumstances, not your environment, but your mind. When you begin to hear the holy call, the enemy will not rush to take away external things. It will aim at your thoughts. It will whisper that you are overdoing it, that you are changing too fast, that you shouldn't be so serious. It will try to make you feel out of place, strange, alone. It wants you to believe that you are losing yourself, when in fact you are only losing the old version so that the true self I intended can emerge. You must learn to recognize which voice is mine and which belongs to the darkness. I never speak to you in a tone of contempt, insult, or crushing accusation. I correct, but I do not humiliate. I point out what is wrong, but I also open the way that is right. I may cause you to hurt because of the truth, but it is the pain of a surgeon's scalpel removing a tumor so that you may live. The voice of darkness is different. It stirs up old guilt but offers no new hope. It drowns you in self-condemnation but shows you no way back. It magnifies your failures while shrinking the power of the cross. That is why, in a season of separation, the first thing you must learn to do is bring each thought before me. Be honest with me about what is running through your mind. Do not hesitate to tell me that you are confused, afraid, unsettled, or that you feel out of place even among those around you. I do not despise such confessions. I treasure them. because they show that you no longer present a fake picture of yourself before me. Every time you dare bring your thoughts under my gaze, you are allowing me to gradually replace lies with truth. True separation begins when you no longer permit every thought to roam freely in your mind, but instead examine it. Does this sound like my Father's voice? Does this draw me closer to Him, or pull me away? I am not only separating you from certain external relationships, but also from inner attachments no one else can see. Some attachments are not people, but the image you cling to of yourself. There is a self you have been building for years, the self that is always strong, always in control, always knowing exactly what to do next. Now, as I call you to be set apart, I also invite you to let go of that image. You do not need to appear okay all the time. You do not need to be the one who always understands, always manages, always holds it together. I do not require you to perform before me. I only ask that you be real. Separation also means leaving behind the masks you have grown used to wearing to protect your heart. When I lead you into holiness, I do not make you distant, cold, or proud. I do not cause you to look down on those who are still where you once were. On the contrary, I soften your heart, make you more compassionate, more merciful but without compromise. You will learn to love without enabling, to be close without being pulled down, to show mercy without being absorbed. That is mature separation. You do not need to condemn others to keep yourself safe, but you also do not throw yourself into places where I have not led you. Separation also means that I will begin teaching you healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not walls of arrogance. They are fences that protect my purpose for your life. There will be invitations you must learn to say no to, even if they do not appear obviously wrong, simply because they no longer fit your journey. There will be conversations you choose not to join, not because you think yourself better, but because you know your soul can no longer tolerate the subtle pollution of idle, toxic, jealous, or judgmental words. There will be places, habits, and forms of entertainment you will have to turn down, not to flaunt your holiness, but to guard the spiritual tenderness I am cultivating within you. I will also teach you to draw boundaries with good things that are not right for this moment. Some opportunities will look bright but arrive too early. If you seize them before you are ready, they will bend you away from the direction I intend. Some offers may seem like doors from heaven, but if you listen deeply, you will sense that my peace does not accompany them. Separation is not only avoiding what is evil, but daring to wait for what is right, daring to refuse what is immediate in order to preserve yourself for what is lasting, daring to be late in human eyes in order to stay in step with me. I know the waiting wearies you. I know the times when you feel others moving ahead while you seem to stand still. But remember, people measure by speed. I measure by depth. Speed may earn you admiration for a moment, but depth is what keeps you standing when storms come. If I let you step out too quickly, before your roots have gone deep, external glory would become a weight on your soul. Separation is also the time I hold you back, not because I want to delay blessing, but because I am preparing a space where the blessing will not become a burden. In a season of separation, you will have to learn a precious lesson being alone with me without feeling empty. At first, the quiet will unsettle you. You are used to being surrounded by sounds, information, messages, images, and noise. As those things begin to fade, you will confront the empty spaces you once avoided. But do not rush to fill them with old things. Let me step into those gaps. It is precisely in that place which seems empty that I will fill you with my presence. my word, and a peace no screen, no conversation, no achievement can provide. Try to remember the rare moments when you were truly still before me. Even if only for a few minutes, your soul felt different. Through all the layers of fatigue, a thin ray of light still broke through. That is proof that you were created to live in my presence. Separation is not tearing you out of the world, but returning you to the atmosphere your soul was made for. When you grow accustomed to being still before me, you will no longer fear loneliness as you once did, for you will realize that true loneliness is not being by yourself, but being among thousands and having no one touch the deepest part of you. But when you are with me, even if no one else is there, you are not abandoned. Separation is not a season that stretches on without end. It is a process I use to shape, refine, and prepare you. The time will come when I bring you back among people, into circumstances, into responsibilities, but with a completely different inner life. You will see that what once shook you no longer holds the same power. Temptations that once seemed strong will appear small. Words of judgment that once crushed you will no longer pierce your heart, not because you have become hardened, but because you have sunk your roots deeper into me. This is the fruit of separation. So do not rush to draw conclusions about your journey while you are still in the midst of the process. Do not look at the present moment and assume it is the end point. I am the one who sees from beginning to end. I see the day you answered the holy call. I see the day you stepped into separation. And I also see the day you will rise strong, carrying the imprint of these hidden seasons to illuminate others. You are not wandering in meaningless circles. You are being led through very specific stages to the place I desire. Today, I speak to you, my child. Let me continue to separate you from anything that dulls my voice, whether it is a habit, a thought, a relationship, or an image you keep of yourself. Do not hold on out of fear of emptiness. I will not leave your heart barren. I am clearing space so that I, myself, may become your portion. Take courage. This season of separation is not meant to bury you, but to prepare you, and the holy call will continue to resonate, not weaker, but clearer until you stand fully within the intention I have for you. My child, now that you have stepped more deeply into the season of separation, I want to open your eyes to something important. I am not separating you merely so that you become different, but so that you become mine. If it stopped at being different from the majority, you would only become isolated, self-withdrawn, and secretly proud of your own uniqueness. That is not what I desire. I call you apart not to build an ivory tower for you, but to bring you into a profound belonging to me, belonging to my purpose, and belonging to a spiritual family I am raising. The separation I work in your life is not meant to sever all ties, but to loosen the wrong ones, so that I may connect you to the people, the places, and the things that align with the calling I placed within you from the beginning. Beloved child, have you ever considered that the feeling of no longer fitting your old place is a sign that you have outgrown the space I once permitted you to inhabit? A garment that once fit well becomes tight as a child grows. The garment is not worse than before, it simply no longer fits the one who has grown. There were groups, lifestyles, thoughts, dreams, places where your soul once found shelter for a season. I used them as temporary garments to keep you warm, but I never intended them to be your lifelong attire. As you grow, and as I pull you nearer, these things begin to feel constricting. You try to shrink yourself in order to stay within them, and it is then that your soul begins to hurt. I do not delight in seeing you make yourself smaller just to fit old patterns. That is why I use the call of separation to pull you out, not because those places were entirely bad, but because you have surpassed what they were designed to hold. I know there are losses you do not yet know how to name. Separation means that some people who were once your anchors become only memories. Some paths once familiar now feel foreign. Some sounds that once soothed now create noise within you. Every time you look back, you feel gratitude, longing, and confusion all at once. You are grateful for those seasons, yet you know that if you returned, you would no longer be the same person. I want you to understand that this feeling is not wrong. I do not ask you to deny your past. I simply ask you not to let the past define your present. What I use for one season is not always what I use again for the next. You can treasure what was without hesitating to walk toward what is ahead. There is a deep fear I see in your heart, the fear that if you truly step into the separation I am calling you to, there will be no one left beside you. You fear that if you go back, you will not be welcomed. But if you go forward, you see no companion yet. This fear keeps you hesitating, stepping forward and backward between two shores. I do not despise this fear, but neither will I let it govern you. I say to you, before I bring the right people into your life, I will let you learn how to stand with me alone, not because I want you to live in perpetual solitude, but because I want your foundation of belonging to me to be so firm that no matter what group you are later placed in, you will not lose communion with me. When you learn to stand with me first, you will no longer settle for half-formed connections meant only to fill a void. Think of the figures I chose throughout history. Before I used them, I always placed them in seasons of separation. Joseph was taken away from his home and cast into a foreign land before becoming the vessel of deliverance for an entire nation. Daniel was carried into a culture utterly unfamiliar before becoming a witness of my faithfulness in the king's court. Elijah remained alone at the brook Cherith before confronting an entire system of false worship. I recount these stories not for your admiration alone, but to show you a pattern. Separation does not destroy calling. It is the womb in which calling matures. You, too, are in such a process today. Though the outward form may differ, I do not lead you into a wilderness to abandon you there, but to prepare you for the crowded places where I will send you. I want to speak to you about another aspect of separation, being separated from false evaluations of your own worth. For a long time, you have allowed others' words and reactions to become mirrors for your identity. When they praised you, you felt valuable. When they fell silent, you felt diminished. When they misunderstood you, you felt useless. When they turned away, you believed you were unlovable. I have seen how many times you tried to do everything right just so you would not be left behind. You thought it was your responsibility, but hidden beneath it was the fear of being forgotten. The call to separation in this season is also my way of cutting you free from measuring yourself by others' reactions. I want you to look at my face to know who you are. When you allow me to tell you how precious you are, you will no longer tolerate situations that diminish you. When you believe that you are the object of my love, you will no longer accept relationships that distort your worth. When you believe I formed you intentionally with a unique purpose, you will no longer live your life by copying someone else's. That too is separation, separation from comparison, from the need to resemble others, from the illusion that your happiness depends on being validated by people. I do not deny the role of community, but I want you to build your foundation on the one who does not change, not on the ever-shifting faces of humankind. Have you noticed that since I began drawing you apart, a new kind of hunger has awakened in you, a hunger to hear me more, a hunger to live more truthfully? a hunger to see your life hold deeper meaning than simply circling through identical days. This feeling of no longer having peace with superficiality is a sign that the seed I planted within you is sprouting. I am creating in you a longing that nothing on earth can satisfy except me, and that very hunger will keep you through this season of separation. Even when you do not understand everything, do not extinguish it. Do not try to silence it with hurried distractions. Let it propel you toward me. The closer you come, the clearer you will understand why I cannot allow you to remain where you once were, my beloved child. I do not promise you that those around you will always understand the new steps you are taking. In fact, many times they will be the first to ask, "Why are you changing? Why aren't you like before anymore?" Some will feel threatened when they see you no longer participating in what you once always joined. Some will think you are becoming distant, hard to approach. You will be tempted to go back and make them comfortable again. But I say to you, do not trade my lead for temporary approval. Those who do not understand you today will one day see the fruit that this separation produces in your life. In that time, they will need from you something you only received in these quiet seasons with me. So, my child, the path you are walking is not meaningless. Every step you take in separating yourself from what I no longer want for you is a step closer to the territory I have prepared. Every time you choose to keep your heart pure in the midst of others' invitations, you are strengthening the foundation for your spiritual future. Every time you remain in silence with me instead of chasing after noise, you are adding another deep layer to your relationship with me. Through this season of separation, the holy call is shaping you little by little, even if you cannot yet see the full picture. Let me speak a closing word to you for this stage, my child. I do not call you out of something in order to leave you empty. I call you out so that I may bring you in. I am not only pulling you away from the old, I am leading you closer to what I have reserved for you. Do not fear the in-between, for it is precisely there that I am molding you into my image. Hold on to this word like a cord in your hand as you walk through the remaining parts of your journey. I still go before you. I still stand beside you, and I will not stop until this holy call has been fully answered in every part of your life. My child, at this point, your journey is entering another phase, deeper, stronger, quiet, yet full of power, the phase of transformation. If in the first part I called you to awaken, and in the second I called you to be set apart, then now I am bringing you into a place where your inner being is touched by me, reshaped, reestablished, so that you do not only leave the old, but also put on the new. For holiness is not merely the avoidance of darkness. It is a radiance from within so strong that darkness naturally has no place left. You have gone through the time when I made your heart restless with old things, and that was the first sign. But transformation goes deeper than separation. Separation takes you out of old surroundings. Transformation takes you out of your old self. My child, there are things that, if you only separate from them externally while keeping the same inside, will eventually draw you back to old ways. That is why I now say, I want to change the root, not just the symptoms, not only the outward expressions, but the very source. You have tried many times to live rightly, to live closer to me, to let go of sin, and yet you find yourself falling back into familiar cycles. It is because you have been trying to trim the branches without touching the roots. Sin does not begin with an action, but with hidden tendencies in the mind, with patterns of thought you have believed for years without realizing they were controlling you, with wounds that have never been healed, and therefore quietly steer you toward false forms of compensation. I do not see only what you do. I see what drives you. I do not look only at actions. I look at the motives, the wounds, the memories, the fears, the inner emptiness you share with no one. And it is precisely these hidden layers I am seeking to address in this phase. If I only told you, live rightly, without healing the deepest parts of you, that would be like cutting off yellow leaves without treating the disease in the roots. But I am the one who heals completely. I want to touch the darkest places so that light may burst forth most powerfully there. There are things you have assumed are just your personality that are in fact responses to unhealed wounds. There are things you call inborn weaknesses that are actually areas the enemy exploits because you have not yet learned how to hand them over to me. There are frailties you thought would cling to you your whole life. But I tell you the truth, as long as they remain under my light, they will not rule over you. Transformation begins when you allow me to open the doors you have long kept locked out of fear of facing what is inside. Many times in the past, you hid your wounds because you believed I only wanted to see you strong. But I never called you to be strong before coming to me. I called you to be real. It is at that place of honesty that I begin my work of transformation. No soul can become holy without passing through a time of confronting itself, not for self-condemnation, but to see where I want to heal, where I want to correct, where I want to pour fresh oil. Draw nearer to me in this season than ever before. I am leading you into a more intimate conversation, a place where you not only hear my guidance, but also hear my explanations. There will be days when I bring up old matters, not to shame you, but so that you can see where the root lies. There will be days when I let you feel old pain again, not to wound you a second time, but to remove the thorn from where it has long been lodged. There will be days when you do not understand why your emotions are stirred, why long-buried memories resurface. But be at peace, I am turning the soil in order to plant something new. No land can blossom if it has not first been broken up. My beloved child, I will begin changing the way you see yourself. You cannot live a holy life while still believing lies about who you are. You are not worthless, as you have sometimes thought. You are not as weak as you imagine. You are not abandoned, as your fears have whispered. You are not too ruined for me to save. You are not destined to repeat the failures of those before you. You are not bound to walk in darkness because the past once crushed you. I want to change the image you see every time you close your eyes, no longer the failure, the sinner, the wounded one, the ashamed one, but the one I love, the one I have chosen, the one I will not let go of, the one I am transforming day by day. Spiritual transformation is not the same as psychological change. Psychology teaches you to manage your emotions. I transform them. Psychology teaches you to recognize your wounds. I heal them. Psychology helps you understand yourself. I recreate you. What I do does not stop at the level of understanding, it reaches the level of nature. I do not patch, I recreate. And here is a deep truth I want you to know. Transformation does not happen because you try harder. Transformation happens because you stay close to me. No one stays near fire without growing warm. No one stays near water without being cleansed. No one stands under light without being changed. When you are with me, even when you feel nothing, I am still at work. When you read my word, even with a distracted mind, my word is still planting seeds. When you pray, however briefly, I still receive each word. When you choose what is right even before your feelings catch up, heaven takes note. Transformation is not a sudden gust of wind. It is the steady rain that sinks into the soil long enough to produce life. You will recognize transformation in the smallest things. One day, what once stirred your anger will no longer move you. A relationship that once controlled your emotions will no longer hold that power. A temptation that once caused you to fall repeatedly will lose its pull. A criticism that once wounded you for days will feel as light as dust. Others may not notice, but you and I will. And those quiet moments are the proof that holiness is taking shape within you. I also want you to know this transformation is not a straight line. You will have strong days and weak days. Days of joy because of progress, and days of grief because of stumbles. Do not measure your worth by any single day. I see the whole journey. On the days you rejoice, I am there. On the days you fall, I am there too. On the days you do not want to pray, I still seek you. On the days you do not sense me, I am still holding you. I do not abandon you in weakness. For it is precisely in those days that I work most deeply, far beyond what you can see. My beloved child, do not fear this process. Do not run when I begin to open what lies deep within you. Do not be discouraged when I show you things you once refused to look at. I do not expose myself to shame. I expose to heal. I do not touch wounds. I touch to bring life. Transformation itself is the evidence that you are in my hands. My child, I want to lead you deeper into the essence of transformation, because many believe transformation is something that happens in an instant. Yet in truth, it is a holy journey, where every breath, every choice, every moment your heart turns toward me weaves a new layer into your being. Transformation is what I perform from within, and then reveal outwardly in the time I choose. So do not draw conclusions about yourself simply because today you still see your weakness. My child, a vine does not produce fruit because of a single sunny day. It bears fruit after months of roots quietly drawing life. Holiness is the same, not a brilliant moment, but a steady, quiet process nourished by my presence. In this season of transformation, I want you to understand the power of truth. Transformation does not occur merely by determination, but by truth being engraved into your heart. There are things you have believed for years, lies woven subtly into your soul like invisible threads, causing you to behave contrary to what I destined for you. Someone once spoke carelessly, and you took their words as a definition of yourself. A moment of pain became, in your mind, a prophecy of your future. Certain failures convinced you that they stamped your entire life. But I say to you, the only truth that has the authority to define you is the truth I speak. That truth begins to free you from yourself. Do not be surprised that in this season I continue to ask you, who are you truly before me? For until you know who you are, you will always drift toward what is not yours. When you believe you are weak, you will live as the weak. When you believe you are abandoned, you will tremble in every relationship. When you believe you are unlovable, you will cling to what hurts you. But when you know that I have chosen you, called you, and placed eternal worth within your soul, then transformation will flow from the core. Remember, true transformation is not forcing yourself to be better. It is opening your eyes to see how beautifully I created you from the beginning. Once you realize that, you do not need to strive to live rightly. You will desire it. Holiness will cease to feel like a burden and become freedom, not a chain that restricts you, but the very atmosphere in which your soul can finally breathe. There will be days when transformation hurts. To build something new, I must dismantle what was old. I must remove the armor you have worn since childhood. I must pull out distorted beliefs. I must peel away the layers you used to protect your heart. And sometimes those very layers made you feel safe, though they were prisons. So when I remove them, you feel exposed. But my child, I do not expose you without covering you. I never take something away without preparing something better. In the days when you feel fragile, easily moved, unsure why you seem more sensitive, do not think it is weakness. When I soften the heart, it is only then that I can write upon it the things I intended from the beginning. A hardened heart may survive storms of emotion, but it cannot receive vision. A heart shielded too tightly may endure, but it cannot love, cannot hope, cannot hear my voice clearly. Transformation begins when I make your heart alive again, and that often comes with a sensitivity you once thought inconvenient. You may also feel more conflicted in this season. You want to follow me, yet your old self pulls. You want to let go, yet old habits grip you. You want holiness, yet part of you longs for the shadows. Hear me, this struggle is not failure. It is proof that you are alive. What is dead does not resist. The reason sin within you reacts is because I am removing its power. Do not fear this inner conflict. It is the battle only those being renewed can feel. Step into the light, not the harsh light of judgment, but the gentle light of truth. Let me illuminate your weaknesses, your shadows, your motives, even the parts of you you do not yet understand. I do not illuminate to condemn, I illuminate to heal. Sin only carries power in darkness. The moment it is brought into my light, it loses strength. Many times you have feared facing yourself because you thought I would leave you if I saw everything. But I say to you, I saw you from the beginning, and still I chose you. Nothing in you surprises me. But when you dare to face it with me, you begin to be free. Part of transformation is learning to surrender your emotions. Emotions are not the enemy. They are indicators of where I want to touch. Anger reveals an unhealed wound. Jealousy reveals an unmet need. Sadness reveals burdens you have not allowed me to lift. Fear reveals the areas where you have not yet entrusted me with authority. I am not asking you to deny your emotions. I want you to bring them to me. When you dare to say, Lord, this is how I feel, that is when I begin shaping that emotion into wisdom and peace. True transformation always leads to a new awareness. You will begin seeing the signs that I am working with you. You will desire holiness more deeply. Your heart will become more sensitive to my voice. My peace will guide you more than circumstances. The whisper of conscience will grow louder than temptation. You will recognize what does not belong to you faster, and you will feel discomfort when stepping outside my will, not because I am controlling you, but because my love warns you back to safety. Transformation also awakens a new strength in you, the strength to refuse. Not to refuse out of pride, but out of clarity, knowing you were made for better things. You will not chase what drains your soul anymore. You will not cling to relationships that break you. You will not drink from polluted wells just because you are thirsty. You will stop performing to earn affection. You will know how to say no, and that will be the unmistakable sign of freedom. My child, I am taking you into depths that many never reach, not because I do not call them, but because they fear losing their old selves. But you, my beloved, embracing true transformation means being willing to release everything that once felt familiar, not because those things were always wrong, but because they no longer fit the new identity I am forming in you. You cannot hold both the old and the new. The old will always pull you downward, and the new will always draw you upward. You must choose, and I see you choosing me even with trembling, and I am pleased. My beloved child, to understand transformation fully, you must know that I am not only changing you so that you become better, I am changing you so that you become more like me. This is not merely the improvement of personality, but the recreation of identity. I breathed into Adam and he became a living soul. Today I also breathe that breath into you, so that the divine part in you, the part that bears my likeness, may be powerfully awakened again. Without my breath, every effort to change is only external decoration. But when my breath touches the depths of your soul, you begin to live differently from the roots up. And this is what I want you to recognize. Everything I do within you is to prepare you for what I am about to do through you. Transformation is never just for you alone. It is always connected to the people you will meet, the souls you will touch, the lives you will strengthen, the spiritual battles you will win on behalf of others. You think you are merely changing for your own sake, but I am preparing you for a mission you cannot yet fully imagine. I want you to understand this process through an image, a piece of land left fallow for many years. The surface soil is hardened. Weeds grow thick. Stones lie scattered. And everything on the outside looks useless. If a farmer only stands and looks, he would conclude that this land cannot bear fruit. But I do not see as man sees. I see through every layer of soil, every mineral, every hidden capacity. I know that beneath that hardened crust lies a richness waiting to be released. When I begin my work, the first thing I do is plow. Plowing is the most painful part of transformation, because it turns over what you have long grown accustomed to living with. I will bring back things you tried to bury. I will point out matters you thought you had forgotten but never truly overcame. I will stir emotions you believed had cooled but were merely suppressed. You will feel as if the soil of your heart is being disturbed day after day. You may ask, why doesn't the Lord just leave everything alone? But my child, if I leave it untouched, the ground will remain hard, and the seeds I sow will never sprout. When I till the soil, it is not to destroy, but to prepare. My child, I have never torn down anything I did not intend to rebuild better. And after the soil is turned, I begin to remove stones, false beliefs, fears that have shaped you, hurtful words from others that you unconsciously accepted as your compass. I pick up each stone, sometimes through the words I speak to you in quiet moments, sometimes through events that make you pause and reflect, sometimes through people I place in your life who mirror back what you have not yet seen. My child, every stone I lift from your heart is one step closer to a freedom you have never known. Then comes the next step, I water. That water is my word. There are times you read and feel cold, unmoved. But I tell you the truth, not one drop is wasted. It seeps slowly into the cracked, dry places where you have grown weary, where you have felt disappointed, where you lost hope. Every verse of Scripture, every word of encouragement, every moment when I whisper into your heart is soaking in, even if you do not notice at once. One day, that soil will become tender, and it is then that transformation begins to blossom. Transformation is not measured by emotion, but by obedience. There will be days when you do not feel any progress, but you still choose what is right. Days when you do not feel close to me, yet you still whisper a prayer. Days when you want to give up, but still decide to take one more step. Those are the days that build real strength. Those unseen days determine the shape of your soul. Transformation does not happen under stage lights. It happens in the secret place, in the late night, in the silent tears, in the decisions that only you and I know. Do not measure your progress by someone else's speed. Every soul has its own timeline. The mustard seed is the smallest of seeds, yet I used it to describe faith. I do not demand greatness from you. I ask for sincerity. I do not require you to be perfect immediately. I ask you to be faithful. And as long as you remain faithful, I will take care of the rest. In this season of transformation, I will teach you something more precious than anything else. Rest in me. Not just rest of the body, but rest of the soul, where you no longer strive to prove your worth, no longer cling to your own strength to stand, no longer perform to be loved, no longer use achievements to fill your inner emptiness. I want you to become someone who knows I am loved even before I have fully changed. Only when you believe this can you truly be transformed. For many, I try to change so that I will love them, but I love them so that they can change. Many strive to live holy, to be accepted, but I accept them so they can live holy. Transformation begins in love, not in fear. Do you see that you today are not the same as you were a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 months ago? However small, however quiet, your soul has shifted. You now find it harder to tolerate sin. You recognize my voice more quickly. You distinguish light from darkness more clearly. You feel uneasy when you are far from me. You long for things of heaven even though you do not fully understand them. That is the very evidence of transformation. Now, your spiritual journey is entering a stage that not everyone is willing to embrace, because it demands courage, trust, and a tender heart under my hand, the furnace. The furnace is not a symbol of punishment, as many suppose, but the place where I perform my deepest refining work, where I separate gold from impurity, where I make your soul clear and strong in a way no other environment can accomplish. I know that when you think of fire, your mind easily associates it with pain, loss, and trials that seem beyond your strength. But my child, listen with your heart instead of your fear. For my fire is not like the fire you imagine. It does not come to destroy you, but to consume what keeps you from becoming whole according to my will. Long ago, Scripture said that I am like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap, not to frighten you, but to show you how I work with your heart. A refiner never places straw or trash in the fire, only gold is put in. So every time you enter a season of testing, it is not proof of rejection, but a sign that I regard you as precious. Those I do not value, I do not place in the fire, but you have been placed there because within you is a heavenly value I long to reveal. In the furnace, I do not stand at a distance watching. I am the one who steps in with you. Just as I was with the 3 friends in the fiery furnace of Babylon, when flames rose around them, they did not keep themselves from burning. It was my presence that made the fire powerless against them. That is what I am repeating in your life right now. When things in your life begin to shake, when the supports you once held on to become fragile, when old habits no longer bring a sense of safety, when what you hoped for does not unfold according to your plans, you often think everything is falling apart. But I say to you, it is not falling apart, it is being restructured. Fire does not come to erase what I have created. It comes to expose what does not belong to me in you. If the old foundation is not strong enough to bear what I want to build in you, I will allow shaking not to disappoint you, but to ensure that what comes next stands on a foundation that cannot be moved. You may feel confused, but I see each step clearly. You may feel as though you are being pulled out of your comfort zone, but I am leading you into a place of far greater resilience than what you once called peace. In recent days, you may have felt as though you have lost some measure of control, as if your life is being carried along by a current you cannot direct. But I say to you, this is not drifting, it is reorientation. I am taking you off paths that no longer lead to the best of my intentions for you. And I am using circumstances to turn your heart back toward the course I set for you before you were born. You will see that the furnace is not only the place where your limits are tested, but also where your potential is unlocked. Patience you did not know you possessed. Endurance you had never seen. Stability you once thought belonged only to others. All of it will be revealed when my fire touches you. I know there are moments in this season when you ask yourself, why doesn't God rescue me right away? Why does He let this stretch on so long? But my child, if I were to act in haste, what is being formed in you would be shallow. Just as gold must remain in the fire long enough for the impurities to be fully separated, you too need time in the refining so that whatever is not fitting can be exposed and removed from you. I am not slow, because I am working not only on your circumstances but on your very soul. What I am building within you must be so solid that when you step out of the furnace, you will never return to the person you once were. In the furnace, you will not lose yourself as you fear. You are not being swallowed by pain, not dissolved in trial, not crushed beneath pressure. The only things that are being lost are the parts that do not belong to you: fear, insecurity, distorted ways of thinking, old wounds, habits that weaken your soul, connections that pull you away from me. You are not losing yourself. You are being given back to yourself according to my original design. What you have called failure is in fact the process of your deliverance. What you have thought was collapse is, in truth, a birth. The furnace is the place where I am closest to you. I do not stand outside watching to see how you will endure. I stand beside you to ensure that you are not burned by anything I have not permitted. I do not allow the flames to go beyond what you can bear. I know exactly how strong you are, because I am the one who gives you strength. Every tear you shed in this season is remembered by me, not as meaningless pain, but as a seed of maturity that you will one day reap. Do not fear the furnace. See it as the place where I am shaping you with my own wisdom and love. The day will come when you step out, not carrying the smell of ashes, but carrying the fragrance of heaven, not with a weary heart, but with a soul that has been fortified, not with a fearful spirit, but with a peace no one can take from you. The furnace does not destroy you, the furnace reveals you, and what I reveal in you will shine far brighter than before. My child, I want you to understand more clearly the nature of the trial you are facing, because if you cannot see its true meaning, you will easily misunderstand me and think that I have left you. But my child, what you call fire is, in fact, the very environment I am using to prove that you belong to me. And what you call my withdrawal is in reality my quiet work in layers you cannot see. My fire is not the fire of condemnation, but the fire of preparation, and every time you feel as though the walls around you are closing in, that is exactly when I am enlarging your soul by breaking old limitations. Do not forget there is no flame I allow into your life that I have not measured beforehand. Just as a refiner knows exactly what temperature is needed to separate impurity from gold without damaging the precious metal, I know precisely what level of testing will make you stronger without breaking you. You see only the fire, but I see the outcome. You feel only the heat, but I see the new form of your soul after it has been tempered. If you could see yourself in the future, stronger, brighter, more steadfast, you would understand why I have led you into this phase. Many times in the past, you have prayed and asked me to transform you, to give you new strength, to take you higher, to make you more like me. But you did not realize that those very prayers were the beginning of the furnace. You cannot carry new strength while still clinging to old things. You cannot step into greater grace with small, fearful thoughts and unhealed wounds. I cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. I must make the wineskin new. And that renewal often takes the shape of trials. In these days when the fire surrounds you, you may have found yourself becoming quieter, speaking less, sharing less, as if your life has folded into a smaller circle. I want you to know that this withdrawal is not a sign of spiritual weakness, but a sign that I am bringing you into the most intimate place of encounter. If you are still dependent on external noise, if you still crave constant approval, if you are still too busy to listen, you will not be able to perceive the subtle whispers I am sowing into your heart. The trial that makes you silent is not meant to make you lonely, but to clear away the unnecessary voices around you, until only my voice reaches the deepest part of you. Do you notice that every time you are wounded by people, you draw nearer to me? Every time your expectations are shattered, you seek me again. When every other door is closed, you suddenly see that the door I have opened is still bright and unwavering. I do not allow others to disappoint you in order to hurt you, but so that you may realize that no one but me can be the absolute anchor of your soul. The furnace exposes things you would never see on ordinary days, attachments you mistook for love that are in fact dependence, paths you thought were the way that turn out to be dead ends, relationships you believed were blessings that are merely shells built around your fear of abandonment. Even when you weep, I look at you with the eyes of one who knows exactly what will bloom from each tear. I never make light of your pain, but neither can I allow you to cling forever to what cannot carry you into the future I have prepared. The furnace cuts away what you built from lack and rebuilds what is founded on fullness in me. I never take anything from you without having something better to give, but for you to receive what is better, your hands must first be made empty. There have been moments in this season when you have asked why I am silent. But my child, my silence is not absence, it is the language of depth. When I am silent, you learn to listen to the smallest movements within your heart. When I am silent, you begin to distinguish between your own will and my voice. When I am silent, you learn to stand firm without leaning on emotion, because faith does not mature in moments of flaming feeling, but in the hours when only I and my word remain as your foundation. My silence is the school where you learn to live by faith and not by sensation. I also see the days when you say to me, Lord, I have no strength left. I have heard that sentence more often than you realize, and that, my child, is the prayer I treasure most. Because when you admit you have no strength, you are opening the door for my strength to flow in. You do not need to be strong to be loved by me. You only need to be real so that I can enter. And there is no place where you are more real than in the furnace. There, you cannot fake strength. You cannot fake peace. You cannot fake faith. Every layer of pretense falls away, and only you and I remain, and it is in that very moment that you are transformed the most. My child, the enemy always tries to make you forget this. You will not die in this fire. No trial I permit can ever exceed the limits I have set. My hand remains on the dial of the flame. When you are close to breaking, I will ease it. When there is more for you to learn, I will hold it steady. When I see the gold begin to appear, I will bring you out. There is not a single moment you spend in the fire without me standing closer than your very breath. The furnace is not only the place where you are purified, it is the place where you are empowered. When you step out of this season, your strength will no longer be the false strength that hides old wounds, but the strength that comes from healing. When you speak words of encouragement, your voice will carry the weight of one who has walked through fire and still lives. When you intercede, your prayers will not come from knowledge, but from encounter with me. When you stand before adversity, fear will no longer govern your countenance. For one who has seen me in the flames does not fear the shadows anymore. And I speak to you now. As a seal, I place upon your soul in this phase of your journey. You are not being consumed by the fire. You are being shaped by it. You will emerge not with the marks of failure, but with the evidence of my glory. My beloved child, this is not merely a season of testing to measure your endurance, but a moment in which I am rebuilding the very foundations of your spiritual life. There are things I must construct anew, and to do so, I must first touch the deepest strata of your soul where old fears are stored, where unhealed wounds hide, where limiting beliefs have held you captive for years without your awareness. These things cannot be erased by a quick prayer or a surge of emotion. They can only be cleansed as you pass through the flame I have prepared, and you are in that very flame now. I know there have been moments when you paused along the way because you felt you had nothing left, not realizing that in those seemingly weak pauses, I was doing a delicate, hidden, sacred work. For if you kept running endlessly, you would never hear the things I am teaching you now. There are lessons I give only in the fire. There are revelations I unveil only in the suffocating place you fear you cannot endure. Yet it is there that you learn to see me not as one who stands afar watching, but as the one who holds your hand step by step, even when you believe you are walking alone. You have wondered why others seem to live easier lives, with fewer trials, less pain, while you must walk through seasons where the fire touches you again and again. I tell you the truth, those I call to deeper places, higher vision, and greater responsibility must undergo a more rigorous refining. No one can carry my glory if deep within them remain fractures that have not been healed. No one can bear the weight of their calling if what is broken inside them has not been restored. You are not tested because you are weaker. You are tested because you belong to me in a profound way. And I must prepare you so that nothing in the coming days can break you. I also know there are moments when you feel misunderstood, detached from what is familiar, taken into places where no one else can walk with you. Indeed, there are stretches of the soul's journey that only you and I can know. Others may see your outward appearance, but only I see the inner war. Others may assume you are strong, but I see the nights when you nearly collapse. Others may notice the smile you wear, but I see the tears you hide so no one will worry. And I tell you, you are not alone in any of those moments. I entered the fire with the 3 young men in the days of Daniel, and I am standing with you now. The fire is not a sign of abandonment, it is proof that I am so near that the heat cannot touch your soul. When you cannot see me with your natural eyes, that is when your spirit is being opened to know me more deeply, more truly. Beyond fleeting emotion, I am not only breaking old limitations, I am placing within you something new. What feels like loss is actually released. What appears to be collapse is the dismantling of structures no longer fit for the season ahead. You cannot see the future, but I have already seen it. You do not understand why certain things must be surrendered, but I know that if you cling to them, they will hinder your steps when I lift you higher. I never take anything from you without placing something more precious in your hands, but your hands must be empty before I can give. There are days when you ask, Lord, am I still on the right path? And I answer, yes, you are. For the path I lead you on is not always gentle. It often takes you out of familiarity so you may depend on me more deeply. I do not guide you by comfort, I guide you by purpose. If I only wanted your temporary happiness, I would have left you where you were. But because I want you strong, holy, and profound, I must lead you where you cannot stand without my hand. My child, in the furnace you are being restored to the true form I designed from the beginning. Before the world told you who you were, before pain shaped you through lies, before rejection distorted the way you saw yourself, I knew you. I breathed life into you with deliberate intention. And though the years have covered you with dust from wounds and disappointments, I still see the original beauty I placed within you. Fire does not destroy that beauty. Fire reveals it. Every moment you feel as though you are melting is actually the moment I am reshaping you according to my original design. Do not fear what I am removing. Do not fear the relationships I allow to fade. Do not fear the doors that no longer open. Do not fear the seasons you cannot understand. I work with intention, never randomness. Everything I allow carries meaning you will see clearly when you step into the season ahead. When I close a door, it is because nothing behind it can nourish your soul anymore. When I open one, it is because I know you are ready for what is greater. Spiritual transition always begins with transition in the deepest places of the heart, and that is what you are experiencing now. Remember, fire has never been the enemy of gold. It is the loyal companion that leads gold into purity. Likewise, trials are not the destroyers of your soul. They are the instruments I use to make you stronger than you ever imagined. You will not leave this season as you entered it. You will emerge with a voice of weight, a heart soft but unbroken, a spirit strong but not proud, a faith deep but not rigid, and a steadiness no one can take from you. And I declare to you now, as the affirmation I engrave upon your soul, after this fire, you will no longer be the one you were before. You will become the one I intended, not the one shaped by pain. Take courage, for I am with you in every breath, my beloved child. When you step out of the furnace with a soul softened in the way I desire, I want to lead you into a deeper reality, where the holy call is no longer only a sound echoing from heaven outside of you, but flows from the very place within you that I have touched. What you have gone through is not only to train you, but to open in you a new dimension of life that you have never known before. From the moment you were willing to let me refine you, you ceased to be the person of previous seasons. You have become soft soil in my hands, ready for me to sow seeds of restoration, wisdom, and a depth of life so profound that even those who once knew you will not be able to understand what has happened inside you. Know this: true restoration does not begin with the things I give back to you. It begins when you return to me, to the source of life, to the fountain of every good thing, to the first breath that was placed upon you before you ever existed in your mother's womb. Many ask me for blessings, for opportunities, for open doors, for increase. But few understand that every true blessing begins with one single thing: returning to me. Not returning with your lips, not returning in outward form, but returning with your whole heart, a heart that has been broken, has been softened, and now recognizes what has held you back and what truly leads you into life. I do not only want you to step out of pain, I want you to step into the depths of life with me. The refining fire is not the end. It is the doorway into a new season, where I no longer speak to you as to someone standing at a distance, but as to one who draws near in intimate communion. What I am looking for is not a soul that obeys out of fear, but a heart that chooses to cling to me because it has come to see that there is no place safer, more whole, and more filled with life than in me. Right now, I want you to understand clearly what I am asking of you. I want you to learn to drink from the waters of life for yourself, not relying on fleeting emotions, not depending on the support of others, not living off short-lived bursts of spiritual fire, but living by the living water that flows from me, so that you will no longer run dry every time the winds of trial blow. You have often relied on your own strength, on temporary resources, on your own understanding, and each time you end up exhausted because you were created to live from me, not from yourself. What you search for outside, meaning, affirmation, peace, assurance can only truly be found in me. You once believed you lacked because no one understood you. No one stood by you. No one saw your efforts. But all those absences were simply reminders that you need me more than anything else. When you drink from cracked cisterns, you are always disappointed. When you run to sources I did not give, you are always weary. But when you return to me, you realize that everything in life can be shaken except me. My presence is not a religious concept, it is life itself. When they were in the wilderness with no water, no shelter, and nothing to hold on to, it was I who kept them alive, not because of what was around them, but because my presence went with them. My presence is not just a blessing, it is the air your soul breathes, the bread that nourishes your spirit, the source of strength that keeps you standing even when everything else tells you to give up. Come near me, not to find a solution, but to find me. Come, not to prove anything, but to be held in my love. Come, not because you fear punishment, but because you recognize that you cannot live a single day without me. When you draw near to me, you will discover that peace is not a feeling that comes and goes, but a continual flow that springs from this relationship. Perhaps in these recent days, you have sensed your heart widening in a new way, as if a fresh, empty space has been carved within you. That emptiness is not loss, it is the room I am making to pour in something new. But that new thing does not begin with my changing your circumstances, it begins with my changing you. And that change is happening even now, so clearly that all of heaven is witnessing your soul shift from darkness into deeper light, from dependence on self into total reliance on me. Remember the first days when I touched your heart, those moments when my light felt like a gentle breeze, when you felt a peace you could not explain, when you knew I was guiding you even though no one else understood. I do not want those moments to remain mere memories. I want them to become the foundation of your life. The holy call you hear today is not a call to move away from me, but a call to draw closer into my heart, where you rediscover the true identity the world has tried to steal. Returning to me is not a step backward, it is the greatest step forward in your spiritual journey. The world sees dependence on me as weakness, but heaven sees it as the foundation of true strength. The world believes you are free when you decide everything for yourself, but I say you are truly free only when you surrender to me. The world teaches you to find yourself, but I tell you that you will only find yourself when you are in me. Now I place my hand upon your life, and I say this: return to me with all your heart, for I am the source of the life you are searching for. Let me be your breath, your peace, your strength, for without me, you will wither, but in me, you will live in abundance. My beloved child, the holy call does not only invite you to return, it invites you into fellowship with me that is living, practical, and enduring. This is not a fragile return that can be shaken by passing emotions, but a foundational return, where your soul finds a sure anchor, where your mind is renewed day by day, and where your heart beats in rhythm with my eternal purpose for you. You are weary of the empty cycles, trying and then being disappointed, making strong resolutions and then quickly losing momentum, changing outwardly while remaining dry inside. You have asked why you cannot hold on to peace for long, why joy keeps slipping from your hands even when you try to grasp it, why old habits return whenever you are weak. You have thought these were signs of failure, but I tell you they prove only one thing: you have been trying to live by your own strength. No one can sustain spiritual life by sheer effort. That life is sustained only by abiding in me. As a branch abides in the vine, what I desire to do in you is not to create temporary changes, but to bring about deep transformation. And that transformation only comes when you learn to slow down, to listen, and to let me lead you in the small steps of each day. Spiritual life is not a short sprint, nor is it made up of a few emotional mountaintop moments. It is the quiet, steady faithfulness of the everyday, the silent yet sincere longing of the heart, the gaze that keeps turning back to me, even through tears. If you remain in me day by day, you will see that strength does not come through great dramatic winds, but through the gentle whispers that you can only hear when your heart rests in my stillness. My presence is not something you must chase by running after outward manifestations. My presence is already within you, and I want you to learn to recognize me in the most ordinary rhythms of your life. You imagine I come only when you pray loudly, when you step into a sacred gathering, when you kneel in tears. But I am with you when you open your eyes to a new day, in the moment you sigh from weariness, even when you feel you have too little faith to grasp anything. I do not leave you, not even for a single breath. What I desire is that you become aware I am there, and that you realize you do not have to strive to be loved by me. You have grown up in a world that constantly demands you to prove your worth, to perform in order to be accepted, to achieve so that you will not be abandoned. And, without realizing it, you have carried that into your relationship with me. But, my child, I am not like people. I do not love you because of what you do. I love you because of who you are in my eyes. My love does not fluctuate with your successes or failures, does not fade when you are weak, does not diminish when you stumble. I love you with an unchanging love, a love that existed before you were formed, a love that needs no reason to be, and I invite you to live from that love instead of striving to attain it. When you live from my love, rather than striving to be worthy of it, your soul will be set free. The pressure to be perfect will dissolve. The weight of proving yourself will fall away. The fear of rejection will lose its grip on you. And in that freedom, you will begin to change naturally, without forcing yourself, without resisting, without trying to become someone else. I transform you from within by love, not by coercion. I want to lead you into a depth of communion so profound that the holy calling no longer feels like a distant voice echoing from afar, but becomes the whisper rising from the deepest places of your own heart. It is the moment when you no longer need to distinguish between your voice and mine, because your heart has learned to beat in rhythm with mine. But to reach that place, you must learn to trust me more than your emotions, to trust me more than what your eyes see, to trust me above the whispers of fear. And that trust will not be built on sudden miracles, but on the daily choice to remain in me despite what you feel or do not feel. I have seen you return to the very things I called you to leave behind, simply because you felt weak. Yet even in your weakest moments, my eyes have never left you. I am not ashamed of your weakness. I use your weakness to reveal my strength. If you had never fallen, how would you know I am the one who lifts you up? If you had never failed, how would you know I am the one who restores? if you had never lost your way? How would you know I am the one who guides? You do not need perfection to be loved by me. You only need honesty. I know there are days you feel like you are growing, and the next you feel as if you have fallen into a pit. You assume this inconsistency is a sign that something is wrong. But I tell you, it is a sign that you are on the real journey. True growth is not a straight path upward. It is the story of someone who knows they need me every day. What delights me is not your flawless performance, but your returning again and again, day after day, without giving up. Let these words become the new breath of your soul. Remain in me. Remaining does not mean never being weak. It means that even in weakness, you choose to come back. Remaining does not mean never making mistakes. It means not allowing mistakes to separate you from me. Remaining does not mean always feeling my presence. It means trusting me, even when your emotions fall silent. When you remain in me, peace will no longer be something you chase. It will flow on its own. When you remain in me, joy will no longer depend on circumstances. It will spring from the life within you. When you remain in me, your strength will no longer come from willpower, but from my presence filling your soul each day. My child, as the stream of life begins to flow through your soul gently and naturally, I want to take you into the deepest part of the holy calling, the call to step into complete union with me, no longer divided by fear, no longer pulled back by the past, no longer distracted by the whispers of the world. What I am doing within you now is not merely restoration, it is rebirth in the depths of your being, where you begin to live from a new source of strength, not the strength of your will, but the strength that comes from knowing you belong to me. Pause for a moment in this stillness and sense what I am doing. For there are works I accomplish only when your heart is calm, when you are no longer driven by your own expectations or pressured by the demands of others. I do not work in haste. I work in quietness, in the moments when you breathe deeply and realize I am here. Not far, not vague, but near. Do you not know that if your soul would simply rest, I could drench it with my life, yet you are often too busy seeking intense feelings, too eager for obvious signs, too anxious to know what comes next. And in your haste, you overlook the gentle yet powerful presence already surrounding you. This is the time you must learn to live from the inside out, not the outside in. The world wants you to chase glittering things, but I want you to become the place where light originates. When life flows from within you, you will no longer depend on changing circumstances to feel loved, no longer need approval to feel valuable, no longer be tossed about by the turbulence of life. For when you are anchored in me, your soul does not sway with the wind. I know there are moments when you believe true peace is beyond your reach, something people speak of but rarely experience. But I say to you, peace is not an idea, it is a spiritual reality that flows directly from my presence. You once looked for peace in quiet circumstances, but true peace comes when you are quiet in me. You once thought peace arrived when everything was calm, but true peace comes when you know I am ruling over everything. You once waited for peace to knock at your door, but real peace appears when you open your heart for me to enter fully. I am bringing you back to the beginning, to the place where your soul knows that I am enough. You will realize that you do not need much to live a life full of meaning. You only need to live near me. When you are near me, chaotic desires will settle. Exaggerated fears will shrink. Wounds that once controlled you will lose their power, and the things you felt you could never release will become light to carry. I know that when your heart wears too many layers of armor, shaped by past hurts, it becomes hard to feel, my love, but I am peeling those layers away so you may return to the softness you had in the beginning, not the softness of fragility, but of love. One of the deepest works I am doing in you during this season is healing the way you see yourself. For you have looked at yourself through the lens of failure, the sting of hurtful words, the weight of comparison, and the memory of rejection. But I want you to see yourself through my eyes, not through the fear of your past, not through the judgment of others, but through the gaze of the one who created you in his image. If you could see yourself as I see you, you would never hesitate to step into the calling I have placed before you. You would not fear obeying my voice. You would not shrink back because you believe you are inadequate. You would not waver because of old mistakes. I see you stronger than you think, deeper than you believe, and closer to me than you feel. Every time you return, no matter how small the step, I notice. Every time you choose me over fear, I call it a victory. Every time you open your mouth to pray, I lean close to listen. You are not merely a soul learning to trust. You are a soul I uphold every day. Union with me is not merely an emotion, it is a way of life. It is not only the moments of fire, it is the stability that lasts through quiet seasons. When you enter this union, you will discover that I do not only want you to know me, I want you to live in me. That means facing trials with the calm that comes from me, loving with the love I pour into you, forgiving with the mercy I place within you, and seeing others through my eyes. When you live this way, the world will know you do not belong to the darkness. Now I place before you a truth your soul must engrave deeply. The holy calling is never an invitation to perfection. It is an invitation to authenticity. I do not ask you to never fall. I ask you to know how to return. I do not ask you to always be strong. I ask you to lean on me in your weakness. I do not ask you to shine for the world. I ask you to shine with my presence wherever you stand. The season you are in will mark your soul more deeply than any before, not because of the great things you will do, but because of the union I am forming within you. If you continue to remain in me, you will see long-awaited prayers begin to blossom, not because you pushed for them, but because you stayed connected to the source of life. I will lead you to new doors not to make you impressive, but to reveal what I have built inside you. I will bring you into divine appointments not for you to prove yourself, but for you to walk in the purpose I have ordained for you. Child, I want you to hold on to this word as an unchanging promise. When you remain in me, everything that belongs to me will naturally flow into your life. You will no longer have to strive to keep anything, for what belongs to me will never slip out of your hands. My child, rest in this. I am leading you into true life, and this holy call will carry you even further in the season ahead. My beloved child, I want to unfold before your eyes a broader picture of what I am preparing for you. This is no longer the stage where you only learn to stand firm in trials or to return to the source of life. This is the time I am leading you into full spiritual maturity, where you will not only receive but also carry my presence into the places where I send you. The holy call in this season is not merely to awaken nor merely to heal. It is a call for you to step into the role I have prepared long ago, waiting for the day when your soul would be soft enough, deep enough, and bright enough to bear it. It is time for you to look back on the journey you have just walked with different eyes, because the very things that once caused you pain are becoming the foundation for the maturity I am about to build in you. You once thought you were merely surviving the season of fire, but I am causing you not only to survive, but to be transformed. Pain no longer defines you. It becomes good soil for new seeds. Tears are no longer signs of collapse, but signs of a soul being stretched wider. Loneliness is no longer abandonment, but an invitation to go deeper into the place where I whisper things I cannot teach you. while you are still preoccupied with the voices of others. Now I want you to see yourself as I see you, no longer as one merely waiting to be restored, but as one who has been restored, no longer as one stuck in the middle of the process, but as one standing at the threshold of a new season, no longer as one afraid to move forward, but as one into whose hands I have placed power from heaven to walk in a confidence that comes from above. I have not stopped shaping you, and that shaping has brought you to the point where I can breathe out the final words of this holy call. Step into the fullness I have appointed for you. Fullness does not arrive when your circumstances become perfect. It comes when your heart is in agreement with me. Every strategy, every plan, every new door I will open in your life will spring from one thing alone, your wholehearted attachment to me. When you step into that unity, what you once called miracles will become natural, not because you chase them, but because they follow you. The things you once feared will lose their power not because you have become stronger, but because you are anchored in me. The things you once thought you were not capable of will become the path you walk, not because you are gifted, but because I am with you. Remember that fullness is not the result of effort, it is the result of surrender. Those who try to control everything will always end up exhausted, but those who learn to yield into my hands will always be lifted up. I do not create fullness as a reward for those who never stumble. I give fullness to those who lean on me, even in their stumbling. And you are that person. Do you not know that every time you return to me after a moment of weakness, I regard that as a deeper union than the days when you thought you were strong, for in those returns, you do not bring pride, but truth, not your striving, but a broken heart. And I build the strongest things from precisely those broken places. Now I want to reveal to you a hidden thing. None of the seasons I have led you through has wasted a single moment. No trial was unnecessary. No tears were meaningless. No prayer fell into emptiness. I have used every small event in your life, even the ones you thought were pointless, to prepare you for the role I am about to entrust to you. You are mine. And those who are mine are never prepared carelessly. For you do not carry only a task, you carry a calling. Not only a calling, you carry a presence. Not only a presence, you carry the imprint of the one who entered your life by fire and by breath. The mission you are about to step into is not to make people admire you, but to make them recognize me. I am not building you up to become the center. I am shaping you to become a signpost that points people back to me. When you open your mouth to speak, your words will carry weight, not because you are strong, but because I have walked with you through the fire. When you lay your hand on the weary, comfort will flow not because you are skillful, but because I have embraced every weakness of yours. When you step into places others fear to go, peace will go with you not because you are bold, but because I have been the shelter of your soul through many long seasons. You will not enter the coming season with the posture of the wounded. You will enter as one who has been healed and who carries oil to anoint others. You no longer have to prove anything. You only need to live as one who knows me deeply. You no longer have to brace yourself to appear strong. You only need to walk in the strength I have already placed within you. You no longer have to ask if you are enough. My answer to you is always, you are enough. Because I am with you. The holy call in this part of the journey is no longer a call to return or a call to stand firm. It is a call to advance. I am leading you into a season where my presence will become the very rhythm of your days, where you will not only live safely in me, but will also reveal me through your very life. You will see that your mission is not a job to perform. It is the natural overflow of love between you and me. From communion, you will step into commissioning. From rest, you will step into action. From healing, you will become a carrier of healing. My beloved child, When the long journey has brought you to the border between the old things and the new season I am opening, I want to speak to you with the final voice of the holy call, a voice that no longer comes only to refine or to heal, but to empower and to send. You are no longer standing in the shadow of the days of fire, the lonely nights, or the silent stretches where you thought you were abandoned. You are standing in the dawn of the day when the destiny I wrote for you is beginning to appear line by line. And I want you to know that everything you have gone through has not only formed you, but positioned you for what is coming. Look back, and you will see my hand in the smallest details, in the tears no one saw, in the wounds I healed in secret, in the perseverance you held on to when you had no strength left to move forward, in the days when all you could do was whisper my name in weakness. All of these have woven together a kind of strength no classroom can give, no book can teach, no person can impart. It is the strength that comes from having collided with me through fire, through brokenness, through total surrender. And that strength is what will carry you into the fullness I have ordained. Know that every stage I led you through had a clear purpose. The season of breaking to destroy what was not of me. The season of refining to purify the dark places you never knew were there. The season of silence to teach you to discern my voice among 1,000 noises. The season of returning so your soul could learn to lean on the source of life. And this season, the season of stepping into fullness, is the season where everything that came before joins together into a firm foundation, so that you may walk without trembling as you once did. I do not want you to see me only as the one who rescues you in trouble. I want you to see me as the companion of every step you take in calm and in storm. When you understand, and when you do not know what is happening, the fullness I am calling you into is not a fixed destination. It is a way of living, a continual communion, a daily walk in the awareness that I am living in you and through you. You will begin to see that the more you remain in me, the less you are controlled by the things that once frightened you. Old wounds will no longer bleed. Words that once crushed you will lose their power. The limitations you once placed on yourself will be broken, and the invisible chains that once wrapped around you will become memories of a season that has passed. You are one who has stepped out of your own darkness, not by strength, but by my love and my persistence. In this season, the burden you carry will not resemble the burdens of the past. You will no longer carry the weight of fear or guilt, nor the weight of failed attempts, nor the expectations others placed on you. You will carry my easy yoke, the yoke of someone who knows they are loved, empowered, commissioned, and placed where I have positioned them, not because you were worthy, but because I have prepared you. You will walk not with the posture of one afraid to lose, but with the posture of one who has been given, not with hesitation, but with the confidence of knowing that I go before you, not with the instinct to hide for fear of failure, but with the willingness to step forward because you know that in me, failure can no longer destroy you as it once did. Let me make this clear. Your new season does not begin when your circumstances change. It begins when you change. And that change has already taken place. I have seen it in the way you pray, in the way you stay silent, in the way you choose faith even when your emotions do not agree, in the way you return to me even when weary, in the way you no longer cling to what I have asked you to release. I have seen this maturity, and heaven has seen it too. Every time you choose me over fear, a victory is recorded. Every time you keep walking instead of stopping in discouragement, a door is opened. Every time you allow me to touch the deepest parts of your soul, a portion of your destiny is unlocked. I want you to stand tall and look forward, For I am about to place into your hands things you once believed you were unworthy to receive, not because you have done something great, but because you allowed me to do something great within you. I will open doors that no one can shut. I will place you in positions you could never reach on your own. I will connect you with people you could never have found by yourself, not so that you would be exalted, but so that my name would be exalted through your life. You will see that true success does not flow from your effort, but from your surrender to me. As I lead you into fullness, you will realize that the holy call does not end here. It merely changes its tone. At first, it awakened your sleeping heart. Then it refined you, healed you, restored you, and redirected you. Now that call becomes a new rhythm, leading you into continual spiritual maturity. You will never return to what you once were, for once the soul has tasted my presence, nothing else can satisfy. Once the heart has been touched by me, it will never again settle for the ordinary. Once your eyes have seen my glory in the furnace, every other light becomes dim. And now I speak to you the final declaration of this entire journey. My child, walk forward. Everything you need for the new season is already within you. I have placed new breath in your soul, new strength upon your shoulders, and new light upon your steps. Do not fear the future, for I am already there. Do not fear yourself, for I have renewed you. Do not fear the calling, for I am both the one who calls and the one who fulfills. Step into my fullness, and you will see me do exceedingly above all you have ever imagined. Thank you for listening to today's message. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so we may continue receiving the living word together, building unwavering faith, and walking in the boundless love of the Lord. Amen.